Welcome to this comprehensive class member transition program policy training provided by the UIC College of Nursing. This training will address pre-transition processes in the comprehensive program. This training will enable comprehensive program staff to understand the processes that take place between referral and transition for class members. It will help them utilize the CAST, case review, and case consultation processes and complete comprehensive program documentation correctly. The information provided in this training module is outlined in Policy P3.02, Documenting Pre-Transition Engagement and Status Changes, Policy P3.03, Complexities Affecting Seamless Transition, CAST, and Policy P3.04, Case Reviews. Please note that this training module presents an overview of the information provided in more detail in these policies. CCMTP program staff should read and understand each policy in detail. Documenting Pre-Transition Engagement and Status Changes, Policy P3.02. The prime agency must complete an in-person visit within 14 calendar days of the approved assessment referral from Maximus, which prime agencies can access through the Assessment Pro platform. Thereafter, pre-transition contact must be documented minimally every 30 days by the care manager or another member of the prime agency's CCMTP team, using the pre-transition member contact note type in the web app. Notes documented in the web app must identify which staff, name and title of the CCMTP team that met with the class member, where the visit took place, what was discussed, what was observed, and action needed before the next visit. Documentation should include subjective and objective information regarding the class member's status and information regarding key events. Any significant changes in a class member's status must be reported to the comprehensive program in a timely fashion. These changes include changes in guardianship, program eligibility, transition delays, declining services, class member deaths, discharges outside of the comprehensive program, and CAST referrals. Pre-transition contact for class members without income may be documented by SOAR staff and/or supported employment staff. Policy P6.03, Serving Members with No Income, outlines procedures for class members who are unable to obtain income. Financial stability is necessary to effectively function within the community setting. The primary goal for class members that are referred to the CCMTP without a source of income must be to obtain income. After at least 6 months of documented efforts to obtain income and all options have been exhausted, the prime agency may request to close the class member under a new closure outcome, unable to obtain income. If a class member is not continuing towards transition at any point pre-transition, the prime agency must identify and document details related to the identified change. The prime agency must complete and upload Form 3.8, Pre-Transition No Longer Proceeding Checklist, to the Member Files and Signed Documents section of the web app. Once Form 3.8 is uploaded, the prime agency will request a review in the web app via case consultation closure request. If Form 3.8 is missing relevant information, the request will be denied and returned to the prime agency. A clinical case closure call is not required in most no longer proceeding case closure requests. However, if deemed necessary, the UIC Con team will schedule the case consultation to discuss the potential closure. In addition to submitting any update in the notes section every 30 days, Policy P4.03, Housing Search and Bridge Subsidy, states that separate updates regarding housing activity are also expected. These updates should be submitted through the Housing Status section in the Pre-Transition section of the web app. The status should be updated as a class member proceeds, for example, from housing search to application. Updates are to be made within 2 business days of any change. Updates to housing status impact reporting, as well as quality and clinical reviews. If the class member or legal guardian declines at any point, follow the Declined Outcomes Policy, P1.02. Policy P6.03, Serving Members with No Income, outlines procedures for class members who are unable to obtain income. Additionally, guidance on obtaining transition assistance and transition flexible funds is available in Policy P0.05, Transition Assistance Funds and Transition Flexible Funds. If a class member is experiencing a delay in their transition because of significant barriers, such as physical, behavioral health, functional, or other system or programmatic challenges, the prime agency must identify the primary barrier to transition using the Transition Delay feature in the web app. The prime agency must document that the class member was made aware of the reason their transition is being delayed. Transition delay options in the web app include income. The class member may have a SOAR application in process, be awaiting a pending application for benefits, or is in the process of obtaining employment. Medicaid. The class member is unable to proceed due to concerns related to Medicaid status. For example, the class member will lose Medicaid eligibility once transitioned due to income, and is unable or refuses to pay for housing or recommended community services and supports. Legal. The class member is unable to proceed for legal reasons, such as a pending trial, court-mandated treatment, or is experiencing difficulty obtaining housing due to justice-involved circumstances or background, as evidenced by being denied for multiple apartment applications. Physical health, behavioral health, and/or cognitive health status may be identified as the cause of a transition delay. Additional intervention may be needed in these areas before proceeding. The class member may be in the process of obtaining needed referrals, undergoing additional assessments, or attending specialized appointments related to physical, behavioral health, or cognitive status. Functional status. Additional intervention is needed to address the class member's ADL or IADL functional status. This includes skill building in the areas of specialized health and medication management. Residential supervised living setting. The class member has requested and/or has been assessed to require a residential supported or supervised setting, such as an SLP, SILA, group home, or clustered housing model, but there are no current vacancies in the class member's area of preference. Desired location. The prime has identified difficulty locating viable housing due to the class member's preference of housing location. Examples include legal restrictions related to housing location, such as restraining orders or unavailability of affordable units in desired area of preference. Accessible unit. The prime has identified difficulty locating viable housing due to accessibility needs. Credit housing history background. The prime has identified difficulty locating viable housing due to the class member's credit and/or housing history, as evidenced by being denied for multiple apartment applications. Class member preference. The class member has requested a pause in the transition process for reasons not related to health, safety, or stability. Document gathering. The status is selected when the housing search or activities can no longer continue without necessary documents. Examples include when a birth certificate is necessary to move into residential housing, or an award letter or state identification is required to complete an application. Agency capacity. The class member is unable to move forward due to prime agency capacity. IDHS approved delay. The prime agency has identified a delay that does not fall into any other transition delay category. The delay has been reviewed and approved by IDHS. The prime agency should attempt to resolve the delay by first referring the class member for supportive services to meet the class member's clinical needs. The class member should receive their transition delay goals in writing. A copy of this letter must be uploaded to the web app. These goals should also be identified in the current comprehensive service plan. If a prime agency cannot resolve a transition delay because the supportive services to meet the class member's clinical needs do not exist, the prime agency should proceed with requesting a CAST review. If the class member remains in a transition delay for more than 90 days, then the prime agency must request a case consultation with IDHS and UIC-CON to discuss the barrier. The prime agency should attempt to resolve the delay by first referring the class member for supportive services to meet the class member's clinical needs. The class member should receive their transition delay goals in writing. A copy of this letter must be uploaded to the web app. These goals should also be identified in the current comprehensive service plan. If a prime agency cannot resolve a transition delay because the supportive services to meet the class member's clinical needs do not exist, the prime agency should proceed with requesting a CAST review. If the class member remains in a transition delay for more than 90 days, then the prime agency must request a case consultation with IDHS and UIC-CON to discuss the barrier. Complexities affecting seamless transition. CAST, Policy P3.03. CAST is the clinical review process that determines if a class member is currently unable to be transitioned safely. Prime agencies must request a CAST review if they believe that a class member cannot currently transition, given the availability of community services to meet the class member's needs. Consideration for CAST reviews includes, but is not limited to, the following reasons. The class member presents as a danger to self or others, and evidence is documented and uploaded in the web app record. The class member's current medical complexities cannot safely be addressed in a community setting. The class member has no income and refuses services and supports to obtain income. Efforts of the prime agency to provide services and linkage to supports for income are clearly documented in the web app notes section. CAST is not applicable if the class member loses eligibility for Medicaid, if they are unable to find income, if the class member is not a U.S. citizen or legal resident, if the class member or their guardian declines the recommended and offered transition setting in the community, if the class member meets Colbert exclusionary criteria, or if the class member is court-ordered to be in the facility and the judge refuses to permit the transition. If the prime agency determines that the class member meets the criteria for a CAST review, they should not tell the class member that their case is being closed or that they are unable to be served. This minimizes class member confusion during the CAST process. The class member may be told that their transition is being reviewed. The prime agency should attempt to refer the class member to other agencies or services wherever possible in an effort to facilitate the opportunity for a safe transition for the class member. These attempts should be documented in the agency's notes. CAST reviews should only be requested after all these possible options, including alternate housing options or service providers, have been exhausted. To request a CAST review, a prime should first enter the applicable transition delay, indicating the overall reason for the delay. Next, enter Proceed to CAST outcome and submit the CAST request, providing the applicable details. Prime agencies should refer to Form 2.6 CAST Review Checklist and the CAST Policy P3.03 for a list of minimum document submission requirements, which should be uploaded to the Member Files section in the web app. UIC will request any additional documents needed to prepare the review. Prime agencies may be asked to obtain records from other providers as needed. UIC-Con will review the documents and prepare a CAST draft document. UIC-Con will upload the CAST draft document into the web app. UIC-Con will then complete a desk review of all documentation submitted for the CAST review. If UIC-Con agrees with the decision following the desk review, the class member can be notified that they are not proceeding towards transition at this time, using the CAST letter available in the web app library. The prime agency submits a completed copy of the CAST letter to the class member, legal guardian, if any, and facility, and maintains a signed copy on file. A signed copy of the CAST letter should be uploaded to the web app member files within 7 days. UIC-Con will follow up on all approved CAST cases to ensure that the CAST letter is uploaded. UIC-Con will close CAST-approved cases in the web app. If UIC-Con disagrees with the decision following the desk review, recommendations will be made to the prime agency and a call may be scheduled. The necessity and timing of a call will be based on specific class member needs and clinical recommendations. During the call, UIC-Con and the prime agency will review the status of the recommendations and determine an outcome. Case reviews, Policy P3.04. Case reviews, discussed in detail in Policy P3.04, help to identify and mitigate barriers to transition. With these reviews, UIC-Con and prime agencies work together to develop recommendations and an action plan to ensure the member's safe transition. The comprehensive program requires clinical case reviews by UIC-Con for all class members who transition, including any class members who self-move or unexpectedly discharge from the facility. Prime agencies are responsible for reporting the status of class members in the web app as they move through the housing pipeline. Submitting specific housing activities in the web app triggers a case review request. After a case review is triggered, the quality of care team at UIC-Con will review the documentation available in the web app and request additional information if indicated. At a minimum, this will include a proficient and up-to-date service plan, the Maximus Transitional Assessment Summary with supporting documentation, and a medication list dated within the last 6 months of the Maximus Transitional Assessment Summary. The prime agency should ensure that additional supporting clinical documentation is uploaded into the Member Files and Signed Documents tab in the web app, including a face sheet or physician's order sheet, case notes from the prime agency, progress notes from the facility, medical reports from hospitalizations or emergency department visits, and any other clinical documentation that could offer insight into the class member's status. After reviewing available documentation and requesting additional information if needed, UIC-Con will publish clinical recommendations in the web app in the review inbox. This will occur approximately 30 days after receipt of complete clinical documentation from the prime agency. Prime agencies are responsible for reviewing these clinical recommendations and implementing them where possible. Post-transition calls are scheduled approximately 60 days after notification of the class member's transition. Post-transition call attendees will include, at minimum, UIC Con, the class member's assigned IDHS quality monitor, and the class member's assigned prime care manager. Post-transition orientation module T5.1 describes post-transition calls in more detail. The prime agency may request pre-transition case consultations or post-transition case consultations when seeking additional clinical support for any class member they determine are at high risk of harm or at risk of losing their housing. The prime agency must request a case consultation in the web app. Case consultation call attendees should include, at minimum, UIC Con, IDHS, and the class member's assigned care manager. Other individuals may be invited as needed, including the transition coordinator, housing locator, registered nurse, occupational therapist, Medicaid health plan managed care organization staff, or UIC assistive technology unit staff. Before a member discharges to the community, care management staff are responsible for conducting a discharge meeting and documenting this meeting. The purpose of the discharge meeting is to share information between the facility, the care manager, and the member's other supports, and to ensure that any incomplete tasks have individuals accountable for completing them. A discharge meeting guide has been developed to assist primes in ensuring that all needed components of the discharge meeting are covered. While it is an optional tool, not a required one, primes may choose to utilize this tool to ensure that all aspects of care are addressed. Let's briefly discuss the key elements on the discharge meeting guide. The Discharge Meeting Guide clinical document includes community contact information to verify that the facility understands where the member is moving to and the planned discharge date. It includes service planning details regarding home modifications and if a higher level of care other than permanent supportive housing or a private home is required, that the clinical rationale behind that decision is documented. The discharge meeting should also include a review of the member's diagnoses, health status, and medications. It should also include a plan for ensuring that the member has sufficient medications available when they leave the facility. The meeting should review all of the member's planned provider appointments and identify any needed appointments that have not yet been made. The discharge meeting should include a review of the durable medical equipment and medical supplies required for the member, and a plan for obtaining any equipment not yet secured. If there are areas where the member requires additional skill development or support, this should be outlined during the discharge meeting, as well as any home-based services the member will require. Transportation and financial management should be discussed during the discharge meeting, ensuring that the class member has effective plans for both of these domains. If any tasks are outstanding, identify which specific staff at the comprehensive program prime agency or facility are responsible for completing them. Finally, the document reviews the class member's possessions to ensure that a plan for packing and moving all items, including those in storage or difficult to move items, is in place. The meeting should also include a review of the class member's backup plan, service plan, and the transition checklist to ensure that every element of the class member's transition has been reviewed. Before a class member moves to the community, a 24-hour backup plan should be in place, specific to that class member. The class member should be provided a copy, and a copy should be posted prominently in the class member's home wherever they choose. The prime should retain a copy on file. A copy should also be uploaded to the web app. Current versions of all comprehensive program policies and forms can be found in the web app library, and educational resources can be found on the Colbert-Williams training website, managed by the UIC College of Nursing. Any questions can be directed to the Colbert-Williams Help Desk, linked at the bottom of every page of the Colbert-Williams training website. Thank you for your attention and efforts to ensure safe and successful class member transitions.